Fire her. Get that cleaning woman out of my sight immediately. The panic in Harrison's voice was sharper than the command itself. He adjusted his silk tie and scanned the lobby of the Wellington Palace, forcing a smile that refused to settle naturally on his face. Now, he whispered into his lapel microphone. She cannot be anywhere near this meeting, do you understand? The marble floors reflected his tightening posture as the revolving glass doors turned. Through them stepped Mr. Jang, a man whose acquisitions had reshaped skylines across continents. He moved with quiet authority, surrounded by 6 impeccably dressed associates who formed a silent wall of dark suits. Harrison stepped forward quickly, hand extended. Welcome to the Wellington, Mr. Jang. Jang ignored the gesture and spoke in rapid Mandarin, his tone clipped and unmistakably displeased. Harrison's smile held, but only just. He fumbled for his phone, launching a translation app with unsteady fingers. One moment, please. The robotic voice that followed mangled the language beyond recognition. Jang winced. I apologize, Harrison said, his voice thinning. None of our staff speak Mandarin, the admission lingered. Jang's associates exchanged glances. His grip tightened around a leather briefcase rumored to hold contracts capable of transforming the city's hospitality landscape. Behind the reception area, a woman in a gray housekeeping uniform pushed a heavy cart. It was the same woman Harrison had ordered removed. She kept her eyes lowered, but for a brief moment they lifted and met Jang's. Her expression revealed nothing. No one saw the degrees behind that lowered gaze. No one imagined the years she had spent mastering languages and international policy. To the lobby, she was simply part of the background, another uniform moving quietly through polished space. 3 hours earlier, the hotel had thrummed with preparation. Mr. Jang arrives at 2 sharp, Harrison had announced, pacing the staff briefing like a field commander. His group owns 30 luxury properties. If we land this deal, we go global. If we fail, we remain a local footnote. A junior manager raised a cautious hand. Sir, reports say Mr. Jang prefers conducting business in Mandarin. Should we hire an interpreter? Harrison waved the concern aside. His assistant assured me he speaks English. Besides, we have the latest AI translation software. Let's not overcomplicate this. As the meeting broke, he pulled Emma, the head of housekeeping, aside. I want your staff invisible today. Rooms cleaned as if by magic. No guests should see labor. Understood, she replied tightly. Fresh orchids appeared across the property. Security swept entrances. Music levels were adjusted by the decibel. The Wellington was no longer a hotel. It was a stage set, and Harrison intended to direct every detail. Securing Jang's portfolio meant more than expansion. It was Harrison's long-awaited ascent toward the executive tier. Everything was perfect. Or so he believed. In the East Wing's executive suite, Olivia Thomas worked with surgical precision. At 32, she had spent 4 years moving silently through the machinery of luxury hospitality. She aligned monogrammed pillows, smoothed Egyptian cotton sheets, and placed a white tea and jasmine diffuser where sunlight would not weaken the scent. Diffusion is best away from direct light, she murmured in flawless Mandarin. Her radio crackled. VIP arrival in 50 minutes. Copy, she said softly. From her bag peeked a worn copy of Advanced International Trade Theory. A Mandarin English dictionary rested beneath it. A bachelor's in international relations. A master's focused on East Asian policy. Fluent Mandarin, working Cantonese, conversational Japanese. And yet she scrubbed marble sinks for hourly wages. 4 years earlier, she had returned from Beijing determined to bridge the East-West business divide. 300 unanswered applications later, student loans demanded realism. The Wellington was hiring. The temporary job hardened into permanence. She learned to move unnoticed. At precisely 2 o'clock, a convoy of black SUVs rolled to the entrance. When Jang stepped out, the atmosphere shifted almost imperceptibly. Welcome, Mr. Jang, Harrison said again, brighter this time. Jang responded briefly before speaking to his team. A young associate, Miss Lin, translated. He is commenting on the architecture. Wonderful, Harrison said, exhaling. As the group moved toward the elevators, Olivia guided her cart along the wall. She heard Miss Lin's translation, and she heard what Jang had actually said. The decor is acceptable, but I question whether they understand this market. An hour later, the tour began to fray. They passed through the spa, the restaurant, the ballroom. Harrison described revenue projections and conversion strategies while Jang conversed mostly with his own advisors. Inside the executive conference room, Harrison launched into the investment presentation. Jang interrupted with a question about zoning regulations affecting foreign-held hospitality assets. Harrison blinked. I can have legal prepare a memo. Another question followed. Then another. Tax structures, mixed-use classifications, regulatory nuances. And the chicken tax? Miss Lin added carefully. Harrison stared at his phone as the translation app produced nonsense about poultry and mooncakes. A suppressed laugh rippled across the delegation. Zhang's expression hardened. He spoke sharply. Mr. Zhang wonders if you are prepared for this meeting at all, Miss Lin translated. These are elementary considerations for an international partner. Harrison gripped the edge of the table. 5-minute recess, he said. I'll gather our specialists. In the hallway he hissed orders. Anyone who speaks Mandarin now. No one did. The external service had a 2-hour wait. 4 minutes passed. When Harrison returned, Jang was already closing his portfolio. Perhaps we reschedule for tomorrow? Harrison tried. Miss Lin shook her head gently. Mr. Jang believes a hotel unable to communicate is a hotel unable to do business. Chairs shifted. Papers aligned. The deal was dissolving in real time. Outside, Olivia dusted a painting frame. She had heard every word. She understood the regulatory questions and the test beneath them. Stay invisible, instinct warned. Housekeepers did not interrupt billionaires. She removed her gloves. For a moment, she stood still. Then she stepped into the conference room. Excuse me. Harrison turned, stunned. Not now. We are in a meeting. She met Zhang's gaze and spoke in calm, academic Mandarin. Respected Mr. Jang, I could not help overhearing your question regarding municipal zoning amendments. The distinction between commercial and hospitality designations may clarify the issue. Silence fell across the room. Harrison stared. The housekeeper was speaking Mandarin. Zhang leaned forward, surprise sharpening into interest. He asked a complex follow-up about floor area ratios and foreign capital caps. Olivia answered without hesitation, citing the ordinance, comparing it to Beijing's framework, and outlining available tax abatements for cultural exchange properties. One by one, notebooks opened. Zhang leaned back. Then, he smiled. Your command of the language is exceptional, he said. How does a scholar of these matters come to be pushing a cart? Harrison found his voice. Please, sit with us. You are Olivia? Olivia Thomas. What department? He whispered. Housekeeping. He flinched. And your education? Beijing University. International relations. The next hour unfolded differently. Olivia did more than translate. She connected contexts. When Zhang raised concerns about Chinese-friendly amenities, she proposed integrating familiar payment platforms and tea services. When regulatory hurdles surfaced, she suggested structural approaches drawn from her graduate research. By the time Zhang closed his portfolio again, the atmosphere had transformed. The Wellington has potential I did not initially see, he said. Miss Thomas has highlighted synergies we overlooked. He turned to Harrison. But I must ask, why is a woman of this caliber cleaning your rooms? Harrison managed. We are reviewing our talent placement. It is a serious oversight, Zhang replied evenly. In my company, such waste of human capital would be a fireable offense. He stood and handed Olivia a black card edged in gold. If you ever wish to work for an organization that sees you, call me. A month later, the gray uniform was gone. Olivia walked the executive floor in a tailored charcoal suit. Director of International Guest Relations was etched onto her office door, her degrees finally framed inside. In the lobby, she greeted a delegation from Shanghai, her Mandarin effortless. Near the service corridor, she noticed a young maintenance worker reading an engineering textbook during his break. She paused. Keep studying, she told him with a small smile. We're launching a program to identify hidden talent. I want to see you there. The world is full of invisible giants, people whose abilities hide behind uniforms, titles, and assumptions. Talent is rarely the missing element. Recognition is. The question is not whether brilliance exists in unexpected places. The question is whether we are perceptive enough to see it before it walks out the door,